We're talking about minority health disparities with Williams and Associates next on City Corner. I'm Sarah Thompson and welcome to City Corner. The CDC recently released a report about HIV lifetime diagnosis, and that report said that if HIV diagnosis rates persist, that 1 in 2 Black men who have sex with men and 1 in 4 Latino men who have sex with men will be diagnosed with HIV during their lifetime, and that's for men who have sex with men in the United States. And it's an alarming statistic, and we're going to get at sort of the story behind that and talk about it with Williams and Associates. So today I'm joined by Darius Rucker and Tyrell from Williams and Associates, and we should probably first set the stage to say, what is Williams and Associates?
Yeah, so Williams and Associates is a minority health clinic that tackles a lot of the different disparities that essentially Black people face here in the city of St. Louis. We do a plethora of different things, whether that be around crime prevention, which we know affects mental health a lot of the times. We make sure people will have access to free STD and STI and HIV testing as well. In addition to that, we're providing condoms, and there are several different things. And Tyrell can even talk to some of the history behind Williams and Associates as well.
Sure, we'll definitely get into all of that, and I appreciate you sort of explaining what Williams and Associates does. Let's go back to this report that was issued. It was really just a couple weeks ago. I mean, on one end, you hear the stories that HIV diagnosis rates all across the board are actually down. It should be, I think it's 1 in 99. Now from a 1 in 78 in terms of the risk. But then this report comes out talking about the African American community, specifically Black men who have sex with men. How did we get to this 1 in 2? I mean, that's extremely alarming. How did we get here?
I would have to say that it's a lot of different things that come into play. I mean, you have access to care, access to services like what we offer as far as free testing, and even like education. So many Black MSM are out struggling, trying to survive and live, and often have to do things, such as risky sexual behaviors and stuff, what we call survival sex, in order to survive. So, it kind of leaves us in an awkward space.
Mm-hmm. What we're looking at right now is, so this is the lifetime risk of HIV diagnosis among MSM by race and ethnicity. So 1 in 2 for African American men, 1 in 4, and then with white MSM, 1 in 11. And then I think we go on to the next graphic, which then breaks it down by transmission group. And then you have, behind MSM, you have women who inject drugs and then men. So do you also deal in that area with Williams and Associates as well, with those different transmission groups that we're looking at here?
Yeah, we definitely make sure that we are encompassing and tackling a lot of different transmission groups that you see on the screen. And anyone who comes into the clinic can get tested, and once they get tested, we can make sure that they're linked to care or not linked to care. We're continuing to provide different intervention methods that are going to make them stay HIV negative if they do turn out to be HIV negative. And then if they are positive, we're saying this is where you can go to get into case management, or in some cases we actually keep them in-house as far as our case management services.
And so talk about some of the outreach that you do, because it's not just, there's Williams and Associates that is sort of your main office, but you also have other programs.
We have Rustin's Place, which I'm the site coordinator for, which is basically like a safe zone. You can come, we have television, we have movies, we have a library that you can partake in. If you need to wash clothes, you can do that there for free. We do HIV testing, STD testing, different educational events. We have movie nights, and it's just basically a space for people to come and just be themselves.
When we look at the sort of categories, at least, of the sort of the transmission groups, do you think that there is, and when you were talking about, when I asked the question, how did we get to where we are, that it overlaps with any sort of socioeconomic sort of status? I mean, how does that play a role in terms of the access that people have in terms of wealth and money and healthcare?
Yeah, I'm very happy you brought that up, Sarah. When we think about some of these systemic issues that exist within our country and how blacks and Latinos tend to be a lot of times at the bottom, sometimes across poverty or across education or healthcare, we're also seeing some of those same numbers translate into how the black MSM and black Latino, MSM Latino communities are affected. When you look at the fact that 1 in 11 white MSM versus 1 in 2 or 1 in 4, those numbers are drastically different. And so we're really thinking about how can we actually tackle this from a holistic point of view and tackling some of those disparities such as poverty and healthcare and education and so on and so forth.
I think anytime any diagnosis that affects your health in somewhat of a threatening way can feel scary. Even though we are where we're at with HIV diagnosis, there's so much in place that you can live a healthy life for the most part. But we're going to watch some videos, and I wanted to ask you about sort of the personal stories of some of the people that you work with. I mean, how scared, how terrified are they, or how does hope come into place with the work that you do, especially with the counseling?
I would say, like, oftentimes, like, people come in, they're very, nervous. Some are apprehensive, some are very unsure. But, we offer that space that, hey, you're safe. And today the medicines for HIV are they're so advanced and so much better than what they used to be. So it's a matter of telling them, hey, you're going to live, and there's still hope for you. So not making it a death sentence like it used to be.
Additionally, I think that, one of the great things that we have are that some people who are working with us and our volunteers are positive, and so we can kind of serve as that bridge. And, myself being diagnosed in 2011, I can very much so serve as that bridge to say, you can live a happy, healthy life, and this doesn't always have to be a death sentence, as Tyrell spoke to.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look. These are videos that the CDC has put out. This is Antron's story. This is from the Let's Stop HIV Together campaign from the CDC. Let's take a look. Sorry, guys.
I donated some blood to the Red Cross at my college that I was attending at the time, and I get this letter on my door, and it was like this stamp with this really big confidential stamp, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What is this about? And I opened it, and it was just basically explaining, for me to give the health department a call. And so I called them, and the worker came out to my house, and she had revealed that I was positive. How are you feeling? If you're pissed, if you're angry, whatever it is, that's okay. Feel what you're feeling. I've been there, I understand. But don't allow what you're feeling to consume and to override what you have to do from this point. We found out what it is. Let's move to the next step. You can't go through it alone. You just can't. No matter how much of Wonder Woman you are, or Power Ranger or Superman, no matter how strong you are, there are going to be times where you're going to have a weakness, and you're going to need people who love you, surrounding you through this.
It's good to have open arms and just be there and let them know that this doesn't change anything. This is only a step that we're gonna get over, and things are gonna get better from here. He's like my brother, he's like sister, he's like everything, all in like just this big, just this big colorful ball, and like you can't help but be around them. There are no other express words, it's just action and love. And that's what you have to give him unconditionally.
It's not the death sentence it used to be. It's not, this, oh, I'm positive, I'm just dead. No, you can live, I'm a living witness.
You can't please everybody.
Amen.
And it's where you bring yourself thin and you have one foot in the grave and one foot on the ground trying to please everybody. You can't do that. And I told him he can't do that. So just live and strive and do what makes you happy, and that's all that matters. And I encourage him with that every day.
Let's stop HIV together.
Get the facts, get tested, get involved.
I think what Antron said in that video too is something that you said too, where you're saying it's not a death sentence, but it brought up something, which is how important is it really to have sort of community and group around this? I mean, that's clearly what WIllaims and Associates provides, but how vital is it?
Gosh, it's so very important, especially when I think about I moved here only 4 years ago to St. Louis, and being able to find such a wonderful support group in Tyrell and many of the others that I've met at Rustin's place. It gives me that drive to continue to go on and know that I can be great, know that people are in my corner on a regular basis that I can call upon at any point of time.
We're going to take a look at another video that is actually a story of a woman. And I know obviously the statistics that we brought up were because of the CDC's report, which focused on MSM. But let's talk about women, because you also work with women in the community as well. How's that going? What's with that population of people?
I'd say right now we actually have one of our workers, Imani. She works a lot with our women, and they're actually this month being Women's Month and everything. Yes. I think it's tomorrow, is National HIV/AIDS Awareness Day for women and girls. And so we're having a skating event for them. We're offering testing. We have head wrapping parties, kind of integrating the idea of wrapping it up and also protecting your crowns and things. So, you know, we definitely have to still reach out to our women, because I believe it's 1 in 37 Black women will be diagnosed with HIV.
And how does that compare with for white women? It's
honestly,
not sure, but yeah, but it's still again another disparity, disparity based on race. Well, we're going to take a look at the video. This is the story of Vanita's story, another video from the CDC. Let's take a look.
I was diagnosed with HIV April 2nd, 2003, a date you never forget. It was part of a routine physical. Hadn't had an HIV test in a while, so I asked the doctor to why don't we do an HIV test? Finally, probably about a week or so later, I get a call from my doctor and telling me that I need to come into the office to discuss my test results. And I said, well, which test results? And she said, well, I'd rather talk to you in person. And I said, and I knew instantly, I said, was it the HIV test? And she had the answer, so she said yes. I moved here to Houston to be near my sister and my daughter who were here, because I thought if I'm going to die, I'd rather at least be with people I love. Slowly, you know, I began to just go through the motions of trying to move on before I felt like I could. And it's taken 4 years.
I love my sister. She's more than just my sister. She raised me. So to see her down and depressed like that was the most, I went through a depression because there was nothing I could do to help her.
Just hold on, to be gentle with yourself, because you got to go through the feelings of it. You know, everybody wants you to just feel better instantly, and it just doesn't work that way. But I do believe that you got to find somebody you can talk to.
Just love them. Be there, hold their hand, go to the doctor with them. Just be there, whatever they need, you know. Just like my sister had to go through 4 years of depression, I was there, you know, and now the sun is out again and I'm still here.
One of the things I've discovered too, or I know for myself, is stigma is as bad as the disease. This idea that it's those people, it's always somebody else. Well, it isn't. It's really your next door neighbor, your doctor, your lawyer, your minister, you know, and really if there's a campaign that's aimed at making folks aware of that, I mean, until we stop being those people, the stigma doesn't go away. Let's stop HIV together. Get the facts, get tested, get involved.
Well, we're going to have to take a short break, but we're going to continue this discussion with WIllaims and Associates right after this. Please stay with us.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. Today we're talking about minority health disparities with WIllaims and Associates. They're a community-based health public agency, and we've been discussing sort of HIV transmission rates, diagnosis rates among the groups, MSM groups, as well as others. But there's another community that's kind of left out of those statistics, and that's the trans community. What are the rates, or what numbers? Where are we with that? And when it comes to the trans community?
Yeah. So what's been really difficult is the fact that not until recently have we started to look at the trans community and think this is something that also needs to be thought about, and this is something that needs to be recorded. And so we actually haven't seen many reports come out around the trans community, specifically trans women of color.
Okay.
And we're looking for the year 2017 to have some more hard facts and hard numbers where we can actually say, like, this is how the trans community is being affected on a regular basis. As of right now, there is a lot of stigma still surrounding the trans community within our community or within the broader community of the United States, and so we haven't really been able to access a lot of that information just yet.
When we were looking at the videos in the first segment, and again we kind of talked about how far the progress has been made in terms of healthcare with HIV, where does PrEP fall in there?
Well, PrEP is actually it's pre-exposure prophylaxis, and it's basically a one-a-day pill. It's originally the drug Truvada, which is actually given to HIV positive people, but they found that if it's given to someone who is HIV negative and it's taken every day, that it actually reduces your risk of contracting HIV. It's like 99.9%, and it's very effective. And
How accessible is it?
Right now, they've actually really just started here in St. Louis a new WashU. They have a program, everything where you call and you can get an appointment. So it's a whole process. You can access it for free depending on your economic situation and stuff. So it's a matter of contacting WashU, calling Rustin's Place, and we can connect you to resources.
So speaking of Rustin's Place, why don't you explain what Rustin's Place is and how that fits in under the umbrella of WIllaims and Associates?
Rustin's Place is what we call our drop-in center. It's also like an empowerment center, but basically we are a space, as I said, for everyone to feel safe. You come, we do our free testing. We have monthly events, movie nights, game nights. We have transitional services for people who may be in between, maybe homeless. You can come, wash clothes, get a shower. If you need, a meal, we cook there often. It's just an amazing space.
And then in addition to Rustin's Place, there's also Core U, that's another program?
Yes, so Core U is Tyrell alluded to, it's an empowerment center. We're actually an empowerment group for Rustin's Place, and Core U, K-O-R-E-U. It stands for Keeping Ourselves Respected and Exceptionally Educated, United Together. And so that group is literally a group of 10 to 15 young Black MSM who have come together and really said, we want to see change in our community. We meet on a bi-weekly basis to help Tyrell, and in addition to helping Tyrell, kind of plan our own events on how to truly empower our community. It really, from the root of it, looks like grassroots organizing, right? Like we're putting on different advocacy events where we're saying this is a problem within our community, so we need to do something about it. Or we're simply saying, hey, I want to be around someone who looks like me and feels the same way that I do, and we're going to meet this Saturday and socialize with one another, right? So
I think we actually have a photo, if we can pull it up, and I think it might be because everyone's in a sweatshirt. Is that it? The Core U sweatshirt. And so how long, when we get into the history of WIllaims Associates and Core U, how long has it been around?
So the empowerment group has kind of been around for a while now. Core U specifically, the group you see now has actually been around since October 2014, where we've come together. We go on an annual retreat where we really use it as a think tank and a brainstorming retreat of what issues does our community face and what are some of the things that we can do to actually bring back to St. Louis and say this is what we want to see change. We just had one recently this past December where we were able to bring a lot of amazing minds to the table and say, talk about some of those same things, and really we're ongoing thinking about new ways to engage our community and make sure we're doing what's best for us.
Well, I think with a lot of what we've been discussing today, a lot of it is to bring it back to sort of the services that you provide, and so I want people to be clear that you offer testing and that it's free. Let's kind of go over all areas, because we've focused so much obviously on the recent report from the CDC and focused a lot on HIV, but that's not just it. There's a lot that you actually do. So why don't we kind of cover the full spectrum, so for those listening that they can reach out and know your services that you provide.
Well, we offer free HIV testing. We test for gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis and hepatitis C. We offer case management for those who are HIV positive. We have, like I said, our laundry service. Our, if you need a bath or anything, we have that there. We have monthly events, movie nights, game nights. We have our bus. You can talk about that.
Yeah, so our bus meetings, they're essentially our meetings for those who have been diagnosed as positive. They're just positive support group meetings. And so bi-weekly we have these meetings and we just come to talk about some of the issues that we face. And you saw in some of the CDC videos that we showed a little earlier about the stigma that we face on a regular basis. What does it look like to talk to a partner about your status? What does it look like to talk to your parents or your family about your status? And so really showing each other support on a regular basis on what it's like to be positive within the world in which we live in today.
And do you think that's changing? Do you think the stigma is changing from, I feel like on a decade scale, it's like, yes, it is, and you see more people from who are in the public eye, celebrities and public figures. But do you feel you're the ones working, in deep in the community? Is it changing or is there still a large stigma attached?
There are definitely a lot of, subconscious, systematic things that are still playing out, I think, on a regular basis on an individual level. In addition to the national and, some of the local governmental levels as well. I do see that a lot of things are changing where, I think back in the 90s, people were just dying. And, it was very hard on people. And there were times where, if you ate off of a plate, that, that plate was thrown away. And that was, very hard for some positive people to deal with. More recently, we're starting to see that doesn't happen all the time. I have heard different situations where that is happening in some communities. So I don't think it's changed drastically, but there's still a lot of stigma that we're dealing with on a regular basis.
Tyrell, yes.
I would even say that there, because there is a lack of people, not in your face dying from HIV, there's a lack of urgency and a lack of, we kind of put it in the back of our head, which to me kind of raises those statistics, why no one's really thinking about it, no one's really concerned about it. So we just kind of cast it aside.
And then when we were talking, and I always hate bringing this up, but off camera, you had mentioned something really interesting about the founding of WIllaims and Associates, because it has so much to do with the neglect within the Black community. Will you talk about that, like why WIllaims and Associates, the founder, not founded it, but grew it to where it is right now, and what that those circumstances in terms of the neglect was in terms of the community and not getting the health care needed, African Americans not getting the health care they need.
Right, yeah. E. Bryce Williams, who is, the founder and CEO of WIllaims and Associates, alongside James Green, did see this very traumatic experience happening to Black bodies once the disease hit. And so what was happening was that they just felt like they weren't being valued and taken care of. And, Mr. Williams tells me a lot of times, he's like a father to me, right? And so he tells me about some of those times, and he told me how he literally chained himself to City Hall and said, you all just aren't taking care of us. You're not taking care of us. And he knew that there was a real need to happen and something to be done. And so from that, we've been able to grow into this. And it's very powerful. He speaks a lot to how the different socials that we do have at Rustin's Place were not something that ever existed because Black queer men were not necessarily meeting in those spaces in a public view.
I would say and he kind of talked about it, but Mr. Williams came in a time when every other, we call community-based organization here, was reaching out to white people, and no one was really coming in. And so he said, hey, someone has to do something. And so he birthed this, and it went beyond just talking about HIV and AIDS. We deal with diabetes and high blood pressure and other things that affect us as Black people.
There's I was on your website, and I thought it was really interesting that there was a section about St. Louis violence and a public health issue. Let's talk about that. Obviously, violence in St. Louis, we hear it all the time, but what is the public health issue?
Right. I think a lot of times we forget that mental health is a part of that health component. And so when we think about some of the killings that we see on a regular basis, whether that be against Black bodies or whatever that looks like, that tends to play on speaking personally for me, that tends to play a lot on, how I go throughout the day and some of the things I think about, even sometimes just laying in bed at night and, shedding tears from time to time. And so it is a real mental health issue that we definitely have to focus on because we know that mental health can interrupt a lot of the way in which you navigate through life on a regular basis.
And so how do you offer within your support groups with the mental health issue? Do you do counseling around that?
We actually have a community educator right now, a crime prevention educator that just started with us. And it's basically his job to go as ages 11 through 18, counseling them, giving them peer mediation, having after school programs at Rustin's Place, and just getting into the community to start early and just speak on those issues because, you know, we're walking around with violence, it's fear, and fear is stress, and stress causes all forms of health problems, especially as a child.
Yes, yes, and it affects the choices that you make. I mean, hearing everything that you're saying, it's sort of just like, it's like an open door. It feels like Williams and Associates, like it's an open door for just whatever to come in, whether it's mental health, physical health. Is that how you see yourself?
And that's basically the idea, is that if you are in our community, it's for the community, no matter where you come from. We often tell people it's not just for people in the LGBT community. If you are part of this community, you are Black, you know, Latino, come. It's for you. It's for this community as a whole.
And do you have any sort of events coming up? And I know volunteer opportunities is something as well that you encourage to kind of recruit volunteers. What are those opportunities?
Yeah, so this month I know is the Bayard Rustin's birthday, which is the namesake for Rustin's Place. And we are going to be having a celebration at Rustin's Place on March 17th, where people can come and check out the space, see what services we offer, and so on and so forth. I know that Tyrell on a regular basis is always looking for volunteers over at Rustin's Place. And so if you ever want to come down to, it's 1114 North Sarah Street. If you ever want to come down and just help out, he's more than welcome to take you there. And then the core group as well, Core U, we're always looking for new men to come out and, you know, just be empowered and be educated around some of the issues that we face.
And when you're talking about volunteers at Rustin's Place, is it, do you have to work specifically in public health or healthcare field, or you just mean?
It can be anybody. I started out as a volunteer simply making safe sex kits, and now I have an amazing job that I love.
Okay, well, we've got the information there for you on the screen, Williams and Associates. Please reach out to them, share the information, visit their website. A lot of really amazing stuff happening there, and a lot of care and concern for the community, everyone really in the community, in the St. Louis community. Go to minorityhealthstl.org or call the number on your screen, 314-385-1935. And thank you both again for being here. I know we kind of covered a lot of ground there, and it was a lot of stuff, but thank you so much for sharing your message. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, and thank you at home for watching City Corner, and keep it right here on STL TV, Experience St. Louis.